complexion of the Mobile One British Rally Championships changed quite a lot since Tapio Laukkanen and Kai Lindström claimed the 1999 title. Last year was without doubt the Finnish duo's year. They couldn't put a wheel wrong. In contrast, 1998 champions Martin Rowe and Derek Ringer hit trouble. As did Neil Weirden in the Vauxhall. And Mark Higgins in the Golf. And for this season, Laukkanen is now in a one-car Volkswagen team.
For team, it's better, bigger pressure than for me. But it's, you know, we don't have any sort of backup if something goes wrong. That's always bad for the team. I'm quite happy because now everybody can just concentrate on what I'm doing, and it's only one car.
So, first thoughts on the new car?
The car it feels very good. Obviously, it's difficult to say it's going to be a tight battle between Vauxhall and Volkswagen. But, well, I can do always my best, and I'm sure that the team will do what they can do.
And continuing the musical chairs, Mark Higgins moves to join Neil Weirden at Vauxhall.
I think putting the cars aside, really the biggest difference is we're now with a team which has been 2 years with the car already. It's well down the line development, so hopefully we can get in it straight away and hopefully start performing well rather than trying to bring on a new car.
That, of course, was Higgins' challenge last year with the new Golf.
150 over crest.
We got the car working very well towards the end of the year, and we actually won the RAC with it, or the F2 category of the RAC. So yeah, that's not going to be easy at all. Tapio's performing very well at the moment. You know, we're still going to have to drive flat out all the way through this championship. Jarmo Kaitalaito is there in the Hyundai. I think it's going to be a good old fight, and it'll be flat out pretty well from the word go.
That means flat out over 160 miles of timed gravel special stages, 11 in total looping through the mountains and forests of North and Mid Wales, making a two-day event before the finish is returned to Wrexham. A perfect spring morning greeted the 58 starters, but forecasts of changeable weather would make tyre choice as difficult as the sartorial options. Not that it was worrying Tapio Laukkanen and Kai Lindström. The Finns set a scorching pace on the first stage, beating all comers by over 9 seconds. But pride sometimes comes just before a fall.
Nopea pidä. Pitkä oikein koukirraa, nopea pidä. 10. Vasen nopea miinus. Ja pitkä oikein eri. 150. Pitkä. Vasen nopea miinus.
And thanks to rally fan Neil Keatley of Nottingham, we get another view of Laukkanen's exit on stage 2.
Oh, yes!
It's difficult to say what went wrong, but that was the slowest corner in the whole rally, and you know, first gear 20 miles per hour, and there was an inside bank, and I think everybody went over that place, and suddenly we rolled, and obviously it's a big shame because everything started so well. The car is very good, and it's very easy to drive, and you know, it's looking very good, and I'm very confident we can do the job when we are going to Pirelli.
A bitter blow for Laukkanen and the Volkswagen team. The demise of potentially the fastest car in the rally would leave the door open for Vauxhall. The question now was which of their two drivers would take the initiative. But for Volkswagen, the rally was over almost before it had begun. And looking on without a factory drive for this year, the 1998 champion Martin Rowe must have been wishing he too was bidding for victory. With the 1998 champion and the 99 spectating in Derby Forest, it was time for the 1997 champion to show he hadn't lost his winning touch. Mark Higgins, on his first championship event for the Vauxhall team, was now setting the pace. 5 seconds faster than teammate Neil Weirden on the first stage. He was opening a similar gap on the second.
100 over crest. Okay. That's right. And left 6.
And it certainly wasn't for the want of trying by Weirden. The Lancastrian was already over 30 seconds ahead of his nearest opposition for second place. A two-car Peugeot team were expected to be the favourites in the Ferodo Super 1600 class for smaller engine cars. Last year's champion, Hampshireman Justin Dale, had the new silver car going as well as it looked on the first stage. Then the Dovey Demon struck again. Hazard lights flashing, the car was in trouble, and the agony of an imploding engine was obvious to the ear.
The first stage went so well as well, that was the thing. 5th fastest overall in the first stage, which is really encouraging for the new car. And then the second stage, the engine's gone. So saying that though, it still puts us in a good frame of mind for the next one, because the cars really were untested before we come here. So that's the way it goes.
Peugeot team boss Mick Linford had every reason to look worried. He'd also been joined by his team's other driver, David Higgins, and the winner of last year's Rally of Wales had arrived without his car.
50.6 over crest.
The first half of the stage, we just take our time, really trying to like set the brakes and get the feel for the car, because obviously he was trying to see how it all performed and everything. And then as the stage went on, we're getting more and more confident with it, and it was starting to feel quite good. Then just after the left-hand corner, the car suddenly dived right after the corner and straight into the bank, which then launched it into a series of rolls really. So it wasn't too good. I'm just going to go to the hospital now and get a check-up, because I've got no feeling on the left side. My hand's swelling up a little bit, but it was obviously a big accident. Feels like I've done a few rounds of Mike Tyson at the moment, so I'm sure it won't be any better tomorrow.
In contrast, it was all sweetness and light in the Vauxhall camp. Fuel, oil and routine maintenance for both the Astras, 1-2 at the head of the field.
It's a bit early to talk about team orders, I suppose, isn't it? But the Rally of Wales is the first rally of the championship, and it's notorious for people going out early. New cars, people trying a bit hard, so who knows, you know, there's a long way yet today and also a big day tomorrow, so we'll see.
Juuso Piccolisto from Finland was already in electrical troubles with his Ford Puma, while Neil Simpson, who'd switched from the diesel Golf he drove last year, was out on the first stage with a blown turbocharger. The rest were still running, but on the lookout for trouble too. The closest fought battle of the rally was now among the turbocharged four-wheel drive Group N production class cars. Yorkshireman Johnny Milner had already lost time with problems on the opening stage. Now he was on a fight back.
And turning possible hairpin left, handbrake. And long right 2 into left 3.
With full production trims, soundproofing and a road-silenced exhaust, the eerie silence in the Toyotas in contrast to Milner's attacking driving style. And he's not much slower than the light Formula 2 Vauxhalls.
I'm very, very pleased. I mean, the conditions, to be fair, of more Formula 2 conditions, really dry and dusty. We were praying for rain, but it hasn't come. But still, we're very, very close. I mean, I'm only dropping, fractions of seconds to Neil Weirden, so we're very, very pleased.
And those stage 1 problems?
Basically, the engine cut out, and it took 6 minutes to restart. I was gutted then. I'm a bit happier now that, of course, we're putting in very, very good times. But I think Force, even this early, is going to be as best as we can get.
Instead of Milner, it was a local hero that was in that third place. 29-year-old Mark Perrott is the reigning Welsh champion. And he was using his local knowledge to put some of the big names in the shade in his privately entered Mitsubishi. It was proving a great drive for the man from Leinster in Herefordshire. Marko Ipati from Finland won the Production Cup in 1998, and for this season is reunited with the Mitsubishi Mark. His only previous rally in this car was on the snow of the Arctic Rally, but he was back on the pace in Wales, running 4th. It was almost Formula Mitsubishi in the new National Group N class. Mike Brown, who drove with the Seat team last year, was another to switch to the four-wheel drive cars. He was up to 5th overall ahead of the Cumbrian brothers, Stuart and Steve Eggleston. A new shape on the British stages this year is the Hyundai Coupe. Jarmo Kutuleito heads a two-car team, and the Finn was already up to 7th place. A good start to the car's debut event. Jarmo was 3rd Formula 2 car behind the Vauxhalls. While teammate Andrew Pinker from Western Australia was getting used to a new car and new stages, just outside the top 10. Another new shape's the 1600cc Citroën Saxo of Ulsterman Neil McShay. Despite suffering misfires on the opening stages, he was in the lead of the Ferodo Super 1600s, pursued by the Proton of Mats Andersson. A truly international team, a Malaysian car prepared in Wales, driven by a Swede and co-driven by Berwickshire's Claire Mole.
Keep right on the crest, 60, right 5 over small crest, to right 3 plus, to left 5 short, 80k, left 2 plus, to right 2 minus, don't cut.
Just 5 seconds separated the Proton from the Citroën after the first 5 stages, in contrast to Mark Higgins' domineering 1-minute margin at the head of the field.
Long okay. To Max left over crest. And slowing right 5 plus, long okay into left 1 plus. And right 3.
This was the only British Championship round that co-driver Brian Thomas hadn't won, but it was looking good this time, and Higgins was determined not to relax his pace.
We can't back off. You know, we've got Neil there, we've got the Group N cars there, so we've still just got to keep pushing, and it's so early on in the rally. A long way to go yet.
As the spectators enjoyed the springtime sunshine in Dyfnant, the 6th and last stage of the day in the Vauxhall Rally of Wales, Mark Higgins was pressing home his advantage in awesome style. The exhaust note of the Astra, testimony to a full throttle attack. Higgins was heading into the final control with a 1 1/4 minute overnight lead, but not over his teammate Neil Weirden. The Welsh champion Mark Perrott had taken the advantage after Weirden suffered a puncture on stage 5. He was heading back to Wrexham euphoric with 2nd place. Weirden was back up to speed for the last stage of the day, but he'd had to drive 11 miles with that punctured tyre in Gathiniog, and as a result he was 3rd, 23 seconds behind Perrott's Mitsubishi. But Johnny Milner's fight back was set to finish, 5 miles from the end of the stage.
And long left 2. Tightens to 3 after dip. 150.
I think it's the water hose.
Okay, about 5 miles to go. Fast right 7.
Temperature's just gone. It's either got no water or it's...
Fast
okay.
right 7.
With 6 of the 11 stages completed in a rally of attrition, Mark Higgins heads the field on his Vauxhall debut, with young Mark Perrott making his mark on the pros. Weirden, though, will be on a fight back on day 2, and there'll be a lot to play for on Sunday morning. A frosty and early start for the crews as they headed into mid-Wales. Sun in the sky, but frost in the hollows, and that would have a big effect on the stages.
It's very early, fresh, could be ice in there as well, so it's going to sort the boys out this morning, I think.
Plan of attack?
I think you've got to be quite sensible, don't do anything silly, but still keep the pressure on because it's only a minute behind. We could have a puncher and we're back to 3rd or 4th position, so it's still quite a lot to play for.
Higgins off to a flying start, and inside the car, watch his hands on the steering.
6. And right 5 okay, then right 4 plus long.
Oh, we've got a puncher again.
Feels like it would have.
I don't know. Quite slippy, isn't it?
Yeah. Left 5, then max right long, then left 4.
Which way did it go?
About 7 miles. 13. Flowing right 3 into left 2.
No time to change it, so Higgins battled through over half of the 15-mile half-run stage with a flat rear tyre, losing around 30 seconds to his rivals, lining up in pursuit, headed by Mark Perrott.
Hopefully Mark will be leaving some good tracks for us to follow, and we'll just have to take it a little bit steadier to start with, because for sure it's going to be slippy in there, if not icy.
Sadly though, Perrott and co-driver Gary Mansell didn't heed their own advice. In their haste to chase Higgins, they'd fall foul of a patch of black ice on the infamous Hafren hairpins, fall off the road and out of the event. which meant that a relieved Higgins would hold on to his lead, still heading the Vauxhall 1-2, ahead of his teammate Neil Weirden, who'd only later find out how close he'd come to snatching the lead.
The first stage this morning, it was quite icy in a few spots, but generally very slippery. There was like a top surface of mud on the top. I didn't know anything about Mark at that point, so I took it really steady and just didn't want to make any mistakes and throw it off also. Got to the end and found out Mark had a rear puncture. So we took about 20 odd seconds out of him. So if we'd had been pushing, then we could have been fighting for the lead.
Behind the Vauxhalls, there were now no less than 7 Mitsubishi Lancers in the top 10 places, headed by the Finn Marco Ipati. He'd elected not to enter the National Group N Championship for amateur drivers, leaving him free to fight the factory teams for outright Mobil 1 British Championship honours. But slowing the big heavy Mitsubishi for the Sweet Lamb hairpins was one battle he nearly didn't win.
I think we must drive safely, not too much pushing and not mistakes, but we must drive our own drive now. And yesterday, last service, we found a little hole in a turbo pipe. So we lost boost yesterday. I think that was the reason that we were so many seconds behind leader cars. But we tried today and we tried to catch Neil.
With Mike Brown 4th and Stuart Eggleston 5th, also in Mitsubishis, you had to look as far as 6th for the next Formula 2 car. That was Jarmo Kutuleito giving the Hyundai Coupe a great debut run. The former Vauxhall driver delighted with the 2-litre front-wheel drive car's performance, although he was set to disappear from the leaderboard on stage 9.
Unfortunately, we passed him on the side of the road, probably halfway through the last stage with his bonnet up. He cracked a sump yesterday in the final stage, and the boys have repaired it, but it was so rough in there again that it's obviously just broken again and dropped all the oil out, which means it'll be history, I would say.
Julian Reynolds was 8th in the Toyota Johnny Milner drove last year, but he too will be robbed of a finish.
We cut out in the water splash earlier today, and then so we decided to go through it slow this time. Went through it slow, still cut out again. Then just over the jump here, thought we could take it flat, which Johnny's been doing every time he's been over it in the same car. Just it must have been one time too many for the car, and the front strut's broken, so put us out.
It was a true rally of attrition. The demise of McShay's Citroën had left a 2-car fight in the Ferodo Super 1600 class. Charlie Jukes in his privateer Proton was pushing the factory car every inch of the way. Just a minute behind Anderson, he was in 12th place overall. As Anderson headed on to 10th place in a class win, disappointment though for local driver Richard Davies from Wrexham. That puncture would drop his Mitsubishi off the leaderboard from 8th to 11th. But it's better luck at least than last year when his gearbox broke as he drove off the start ramp. Anderson though was flying high in the new Proton Satria, the Malaysian word for warrior, and he'll have a season-long battle in the Ferodo Super 1600s. And the lightweight Proton obviously doesn't have any trouble with the tight downhill hairpins. Unlike the heavier production class Mitsubishis, which rely on road car-sized brakes. In 6th place, Gavin Cox tried the Yorkshireman's approach to the bends. Approaching here at over 90 miles an hour, he saves on the brake pads and the tyres. A quick 3-point turn, and he even managed to borrow a bit of the Marshall's plastic tape. Luckily there was more where that came from, but they'd regret working that hard on the fence post. Stuart and Steve Eggleston also believed in keeping the Marshalls busy on their run to 5th place. Despite Stuart suffering dehydration as a result of stomach problems, it was a good start to the season for the brothers from Penrith in Cumbria. They'd also take 2nd place in the Group N national class. 34 seconds ahead of the Cumbrians, though, Mike Brown from High Wycombe was heading towards the class victory and 4th place overall, although he too had a little problem with the hairpins.
That last stage, Charlie Jukes was to blame for my overshoot at the hairpin. He told me it was flat over the second crest, and it definitely isn't in a Mitsubishi. But we dropped 10 seconds maybe there because we had to continue on down the hill and turn it round, so we still took 10 out of Stuart Eggleston, so it wasn't a bad stage.
Podium finish would be nice, wouldn't it?
I wouldn't say no.
Well, it was close, but not to be for the spectacular Brown. 23 seconds ahead of him, Marco Ipati and Kari Kajala were heading for that 3rd step on the podium. And not even a puncture on the final stage was going to rob the Finns of a hard-fought place. But at the head of the leaderboard through the final stages of the Vauxhall Rally of Wales, it was the fight and the fury of the Formula 2 cars, still out in front. Heading for second place, Neil Weirden and Trevor Agnew were just 2 minutes behind their teammates. And as the Vauxhall team celebrated a 1-2, it was a dream start to their career with a team for Mark Higgins and Brian Thomas, heading for victory on the Vauxhall Rally of Wales.
Good job. Nicely done. That'll do, Mucker.
That'll do indeed for Mark Higgins and Brian Thomas, with Neil Weirden and Trevor Agnew the supporting act in the Astras, ahead of a bevy of Mitsubishi Lancers. Marco Ipati third, Mike Brown fourth, Stuart Eggleston fifth, and Gavin Cox in sixth.
And it's great for me for Vauxhall, and quite a good first day at work really, so quite happy with the whole thing.
Pretty clean run all the way through.
Yeah, and when you have a clean run like that, that's when it all comes together. You know, we had no problems with the car at all, and it all went sort of A-OK, so we've come away with the result we really wanted.
Well done. Brian, you've got the full set now.
That's right, I've been trying to win this rally for 18 years, so I've got myself a decent driver at last and achieved the mission. I'm really pleased, yeah, with the full set.
Great start to the championship for the Vauxhall drivers. Higgins on 12 points, Neil Weirden on 10, with Marco Ipati, the Mitsubishi driver, scoring 8 ahead of Matt Anderson.
Vauxhall 1-2, it's fantastic for the team. Obviously I'm disappointed to be second, but I knew Mark was going to be quick in Wales. But, you know, hopefully we can have another 1-2 on the Pirelli, but the other way around.
3-point scorers in the manufacturers, Vauxhall on 12, Proton on 10, Hyundai with 8. A 1-2 for Vauxhall in Wrexham, but as Peugeot and Volkswagen rejoin the fray in Cumbria for round 2, it'll be just as exciting on the Pirelli International Rally in May.
Flat out from the word go, word go.